I took turning 30 really hard, okay? I turned 30 18 years ago. I'm 48 years old. I don't know if I look 48. I don't think so. They say black don't crack, brown don't frown. Okay, look, I think I look pretty damn good for 48. 30 was a long time ago, and I took it really hard. I moved to California from Ohio because I turned 30. I wasn't doing what I wanted to do. I worked at Procter & Gamble. I was there for 6 years. I was dating an incredible woman. Things seemed great. I had the car, I had the house, but I did not feel fulfilled. I took 30 really hard. I did not take 40 nearly as hard because I'm doing what I want to do with my life. 20 wasn't hard either. I don't know if you remember 20. 10 wasn't very difficult either. These decades, 10 was easy. I remember 10 being fun. The only thing I remember about turning 10 is I walked into the kitchen and I said to my mom, "Hi, Mom." And she goes, "What happened to Mommy?" I go, "No, Mom, I'm double digits now. Okay, I'm 10. You are Mom going forward." I know, she had a little bit of her heart broke inside, but that's what happened when I was 10. It's just that I think when I turned 30, I remember having this thought of going, I'm so disappointed in myself. What would 16-year-old Rajiv think of 30-year-old Rajiv? You ever play this game with yourself? You think back to what you wanted to be, an astronaut or a cowboy or whatever it is, and you look at yourself now like, I didn't think I'd be doing this when I'm 30 or whatever age it is. And that really upset me until I realized, why would a 16-year-old know more about being 30 than a 30-year-old, right? So don't let that happen to you because you're 16, you don't know what it's like to be 30. You're 30, you remember what it's like to be 16 or 10. But a lot of people have arrived at a similar conclusion. I'm a big tennis fan, grew up playing tennis. One of the great quotes is by Martina Navratilova, who said, "The moment of victory is much too short to live for that and nothing else." And it's a great illustration of it's not the destination, it's the journey. I hear that all the time, it's true, but I love this embodiment of that quote. Lily Tomlin, great funny comedian. The trouble with the rat race is that even if you win, you're still a rat. I love that. She's commenting on how we are in America, I feel, and I think this cuts to the very core of why it's so hard to be happy. That actually leads me directly to the fourth tip, which is manage your energy. This is a big one. People forget this a lot because we're used to considering money and time as resources. I live in LA, I go to San Francisco a lot, and it's always this big conundrum. Do I drive or do I fly? And everybody does the math, they look at the gas prices, they look at how much the ticket costs, they look at the time, they look at the traffic, but they don't think about how they'll feel when they get there, right? If you drive, which I've made that drive many times, you might be exhausted by the time you get there. That's energy. That's an important part of it because people will oftentimes talk about a straight shot. Because they'll say that, LA to San Francisco, it's a straight shot. I'm like, well, the moon is a straight shot. That doesn't mean it's close. It's really far away. What do you mean a straight shot? But as I've gotten older, I realize what that means. There are fewer turns. There's less you have to think about. You just shoot up the five, because I live in LA, so we won't say five, the five, and then you'll realize that, okay, I know what people mean now. So that is all part of the energy. And also manage your energy by replenishing. This is what I was talking about our parents' generation. They often did not take breaks. They really valued the fact that they could work for hours and hours and hours. But you probably heard the story of some, what is it, the two people who are chopping wood and somebody's chopping for like 10 hours and the other person chopped for maybe 6. But she chopped way more wood than the person over here. Why? Because she sharpened the saw. Right? She would go and she would sharpen the saw. That's what relaxation time is. That's what vacation time is. One of my brothers, one of the ones I showed you there, Vikas, he's a VP of Heineken in New York City, so he has a lot of fun. And he has a theory on this, not just a theory, a practice on this. He always has his next vacation booked. Even if it's 6 months out, he loves having it on his calendar. He put the money down, it makes it real. Reduce miscommunication. I made a number of changes to my style, and this has saved me a lot of frustration. One of them is to find out if your manager or your audience, do they like to read first or listen first? This is a big one, because sometimes people like to read first. They want an email in their inbox, they want to go through all the charts and the attachments, and then they want a meeting. Other people are completely other way around. They're like, no, don't talk to me in the hallway, okay? Go ahead and, they want to be cornered in the hallway. Some people do, and some people want it the other way around. And that miscommunication happens all the time. They're like, well, I wish you would have just talked to me about it first without sending me all of this stuff. And some people like it the other way around. So I think that's a really, really important thing to keep in mind. Closing the loop with people is really, really effective. A lot of time people introduce me to people. It happens a lot in entertainment, but it happened a lot in engineering too, where I wanted a mentor, or I wanted some advice from somebody. Go back and close the loop with the person who made the introduction. People don't do that a lot of the time. Like, oh, what happened with that thing? Did that happen? And if you go back and you say, hey, thanks, I ended up meeting with David and we had a great conversation, that will go a long way to relationship building. I'm not going to play this clip because it's been seen 26 million times on YouTube. You've probably seen it. If not, maybe you've heard of it. You can YouTube it. It's called It's Not About the Nail. And it is a great conversation between a man and a woman about whether she wants him to solve her problems or not. But one of my managers at the Page had a great philosophy. So when I sat down with him, he had all these rules for engagement of how to work with him and for him. And he goes, well, you work for me, so I can wear 3 hats. He goes, when you come to my office, I'm your boss. I have an evaluator hat on. So when you bring a memo to me and you present it to me, I am evaluating you. That is my job. I am your boss, okay? You could fix that. I can wear another hat. It's called sounding board. All you had to do when you came in here was write draft at the top of it. And I will be a sounding board for you. I will help you craft this memo. We'll go back and forth. I may still be evaluating you because I'm your boss, but at the same time, you've lowered the expectation because you haven't presented it as a formal, finished document. Because the third hat I wear is called Venter. You want to come in here, it's a Friday afternoon, and you just want to put your feet on my desk, put your hands behind your head, and talk about how much this place sucks. I'm down. I'm down to do that with you. If you want to just vent and get it off your chest, but you got to tell me that's what you're doing. And it works in personal relationships too. I've done this with my wife. It works. I mean, I can't wear a evaluator hat. She made that very clear. She goes, no evaluator hat. You don't get to wear that one, okay? But she goes, this is really helpful sometimes, where I go, I just wanted you to listen. Right? People say that all the time. All I wanted was, sometimes you just want someone to put their arm around you and go, that really sucks. I'm sorry you're going through that. That's all I needed. I didn't need you to try to fix it, okay? But other times, I do want your input. Well, tell me that then. Tell me that that's what you wanted. And I think that will avoid a lot of miscommunications and prevent a lot of divorces, I think. This is big, and I have to remember this one. This is hard for me too. Don't asterisk your accomplishments. You don't know the circumstances of others' accomplishments either. And I had to learn this because I'd be like, oh yeah, I opened for Dave Chappelle, or I opened for Joe Coy, or I opened for Russell Peters, but that's only because I met him here. It's only because I met this person there, or I ran into her here. Or then I would see all these other comedians doing something. I'm like, oh, well, I remember that because they just happened to be in the right place at the right time. Well, right, that's what you were. So you don't have to hold yourself to the standard of saying everyone else achieved something you didn't. You don't know the circumstances of their achievements. And there's a TED Talk given, never compare your insides to someone else's outsides. And this is very easy to do on LinkedIn, on Instagram, because you're going through everybody's feed and you're saying, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything. You know, I had this man on my podcast, Isaac Saul. He now has a very successful political podcast. He's in the middle trying to find the balance between both sides. Good luck with that. And his podcast is really great. And he talked about that. He was in his office in Philadelphia and he's going home to see his wife and he's just excited about what he's doing. And then he gets on Instagram and he's going through all of his friends who are in Hong Kong and Turks and Caicos and looking at like sunny skies and the sunset. And he goes, oh my God, my life sucks. This office sucks. What am I doing here? Right? Because also you're comparing everyone else, not only their outsides, but all of your friends are, of course, going to be doing more than you are at any given time. You're one person, so you're comparing the additive effect of what everyone else is doing. That's everyone's experience. And sometimes people are later gramming too. They didn't just do that yesterday. They're spacing it out over time. So it's really, really important not to do that. Finally, on this piece, recall the law of averages. Things have a way of reverting to the mean. At the University of Cincinnati, materials engineering, I remember I got a B in my mechanics class and there was no plus-minus system at the time. I was so pissed off. I really wanted an A. I got an A in fluid mechanics and that made me so happy because I worked so hard in that class. I got an A, I was so happy. I got a B in mechanics. It was mechanics 2. I was so angry about it. And I marched into Dean Young's office and I told him, I'm like, I should have had an A in this class. He was a very calm man and he looked at me and he goes, okay, maybe you should have had an A in this class. But admit to me right now, there are probably times when you got an A and you should have gotten a B. And I realized how right he was. I also want to punch him in the face because that made so much sense. I'm like, you were so right about that, Dean Young. That's not fair, but you're right. But it's the same thing you will say to a cop. A police officer will stop you. You'll say, but officer, I was not speeding. And most police officers will look at you and go, well then fine. This ticket is for every other time that you were.